right, so welcome to our first session of this webinar. Today I have with me Carola Paestegui. As Hugo introduced her before, she's our head of social media. She is located in Lima, Peru, and she is about to come and tell us all the ways in which we're doing everything wrong. So, Carol, please, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. And we have a few slides to go through and just show you some of what we expect to see for 2024, the new standard.
Great, Carol. So as an account manager, I talk to clients all the time, and they're always a little bit surprised by what we do as far as social media, because it's not what you expect. So I want you to walk us through what is going on. What were we doing before? Oh, sorry, that's not it.
Yeah, so basically, let's get back a few slides there. Basically, for the last few years, we have been we have seen most law firms and digital agencies, marketing agencies, run social media channels in a way that was basically based on what the client wanted to share, what the legal firm wanted to share. So a lot of legal tips, a lot about what Hugo was covering. So a lot of processes, the 3 things to do after an accident, the 3 reasons why you should contact a lawyer, the steps, the processes, the legal tips, the facts, the statistics, which it is great information, but it is also not what the audience really wants to see. So we have a couple of examples here.
Looking at your screen, are you trying to tell me people are not scrolling in their bed at 11 p.m. wanting to read about post-concussion syndrome? Is that it?
Unfortunately, yes. So very interesting content, but not what people really want to see.
How about this other one? Because like myself, I don't know what implied warranty of habitability is. I feel like I should know. So education is great. But how do you think the audience feels about this?
Yeah, exactly. It is very interesting content indeed, but it is also not presented in the best way for the audience to really understand and really be educated on these topics. So, the typical stock picture and kind of standard text won't really get your message across. And we can see that in some of these posts. They look good, they look professional. It makes sense, but is it what is going to catch the audience's eye is what we need to ask ourselves. So same here.
I think this brings us to something you were saying this week, which was devastating to me. And it was this. People don't go on social media to learn about the law, apparently. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I for sure don't. I follow music and chefs and some legal marketers, but and I rarely follow attorneys, frankly, unless they're like attorneys that who offer advice that I need, So why do you think, Carol, that so many attorneys think that consumers want to read about boring law topics?
Well, I mean, they're passionate about it, right? So I'm guessing they're just sharing their passion. They think everybody really wants to know about the statute of limitations. But the hard truth is not in a block of text. So there are ways to share it, and we're going to get into a little bit more into that. But a block of text, a stock picture, even an infographic that looks really nice is not really going to catch the audience's eye. So yes, the sad truth is people don't go on social media to learn about the law. They generally go to connect with friends, with family, like you said, to follow a chef, look at recipes that we may never cook, but look at yoga routines, whatever it is, plants, I don't know, but not necessarily to learn about the law.
So something that we've been doing in Abogados Now this past year probably is a focus on video. So I think this is where things are heading, and I would like us to tell us a little bit more about this.
Yes, so really for 2024, we're looking at it as a new standard because we have noticed, and all the data points to it, but additionally in our own experience, we have noticed that video, even just like stock simple video or simple animations, tend to perform 2 to 3 times better than a graphic. So that alone points us to video. But then we have a few more things that we have learned that just really encourage that.
So I'm curious, Carol. So like this video that we're seeing on your screen, this I know we don't have any audio on, but this to me doesn't look like an attorney video, but this is promoting a legal office. So tell us about who this is, kind of practice area they work in, and
exactly.
What's the topic of this video? It seems to break the mold of what most attorneys think is social media marketing.
Exactly. So this is for a PI law firm in California. This is their Spanish brand, and we have their spokesperson go into their office, film these videos, and basically what we're showing in the video is expectation versus reality of what a client will see during their first consultation. They have no idea. Most people, when they suffer an accident and they're the victim, they have no idea what's going to happen when they first call. They don't know that the person could be playing with cars. They could be playing solitaire on their computer. They could be dancing with a skeleton. We don't know.
Yeah.
So
can you replay that, Andrea, so we could just see it again once more?
Definitely.
So the topic is what does a legal staff do while they're working on your case?
Right, exactly. And it's expectation versus reality. They're actually looking through files, looking through evidence, but as the client on the other side of the phone or the email, we don't know that. We don't get to see that. So
you're like demystifying the process to an extent. You're showing the process. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's huge, because you could tell someone about your success, and if you're an attorney, you should be telling people about your success, but how the sausage is made, people are really interested in that. I think that's an authentic piece of content, and I think that has proven to be more effective than the most polished video ads that you can produce.
Exactly. Yeah, it also makes it more personal. You get to see the people at the office. You get to see that they are not going to treat you like another number, because they are real people. They are your cousin. They are your friend.
Right.
But there was another example that I really like you had, because it's a very different style from this previous one. Can you tell me what's going on in this?
Yeah, so this is another law firm from California, but it's habitability law and tenant rights. And instead of giving you a block of text or a list of issues that you could have and that your landlord should be responsible for, where the spokesperson / actor is actually acting things out. So no hot water, problems with your pipes, mold or anything like that, infestations, mice infestations, things like that. He's actually showing that, acting it out. So, if you see a block of text, very unlikely to read it, but this will catch your eye.
I mean, that's classic. Don't tell people, show them, exactly. that is massive. Okay. Yeah. Let's continue. That's really interesting.
Okay, Carol, how about this one? I know this is a little funny. If we had the audio, you guys will laugh at it as well, but what's going on?
Yeah, so this one is basically going through around the office and telling some of the team members what the client did and just recording their reaction. So the client accepted the first offer from the insurance company, which generally is a lowball offer, right? We know that. So, they're just showing their reaction basically to that.
Okay.
Got it.
Something I've noticed, though, is that a lot of this seems to include the intake staff, the office managers. Do the attorneys need to be involved in this? Because we have an example, this one, and that's the actual attorney. So can you tell me a little bit about this?
Yeah, so this is another attorney in California. He actually has a home office, so set up in his home, and part of his team is actually his wife, his kid, and his kid not really doing work, but being there, and his pets. So he's showing a little more behind the scenes, and he's telling you, when you call us, my wife is going to pick up the phone and she will take care of you, basically, right? And showing his team. Yeah.
I mean, this might feel very uncomfortable to some of you guys, some of you watching, but there are ways to film yourself, to build your, let's call it, your personal brand without putting you in a compromising or uncomfortable situation. So just keep in mind that you could create content that's about your office or about your background, or really it's about you. That's what people want to see. The short form content that people want to see is about you. It's about the people that make up your organization. It's not the data points in your organization.
Carol, do we need a huge crew in order to make this happen?
We don't. You don't. Attorneys don't need. The expectation is you need like a director, you need a film crew, you need wardrobe, makeup, and all these things. But the reality is you just need a cell phone, a computer camera, and, just to clean up and be ready for the camera. That's really it.
Yeah, I think this is probably the biggest takeaway. Again, holding to our promise about giving our viewers something to do today. It's don't worry about perfection. Don't worry about having the right script. This game is about volume, consistency, decent content. If you have one viral video, let's call it per quarter, you're doing something remarkable. But really, it's just like, just use your phone. I have a ring light here. I have a webcam here. That costs all in a microphone, all in less than $400. And that has as much impact as some of the most well-produced videos that cost north of $30,000 per shoot. And this is something that when we talk to attorneys, they're always concerned when we talk about video. They're like, how many people are you going to send over? I'm like, nobody. We're going to do this virtually. We're going to coach you on your phone. It's not simple, but it's rather it's not easy, but the setup is simple.
Yeah. Carol, actually, I think you have a slide where you want to talk to us about the team that is necessary for things. Obviously, this is going to be depending on your practice, on your firm, on what you want to do and the people you have available. But can you give us an oversight of this?
Yeah, of course. So basically, and some of these roles may overlap, but ideally you want to have people with the specific skill set to complete all of these different tasks, right? So you need somebody who's going to be looking into the marketing strategy. You want to have somebody who's the graphic designer who has the skill set to produce professional looking designs. You want somebody who's going to be a creative writer because the graphic designer doesn't necessarily write and vice versa. Same with video editing. That's also another separate skill set. Blog writing, SEO, that may also require a few different skills. And quality assurance is one that gets often overlooked, but it's actually really important to have a separate pair of eyes reviewing everything that is produced.
Mm-hmm. Something to keep in mind is that this really depends on where you are at in your law firm's timeline. Let's say if you're solo, that you're just starting, you can do with half of this and just make sure that like maybe your intake is super camera friendly and she really likes TikTok, so she can like help you out in this way. So you don't necessarily need to have a dedicated marketing team for this. If you don't want to grow, if you want to like publish 17 posts a week, then sure, we recommend it. But it is really customizable to where you are and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And you don't even need to worry about hiring in-house staff in the early stages of your organization. You should be working with contractors on paying per deliverable. That's probably the easiest way to scale. If you're starting from nothing, there are plenty of sources. I mean, you probably are familiar with Fiverr and Upwork, but generally speaking, we find that the quality isn't the best on these marketplaces. So there are other ways to find remarkable talent outside of these networks. But, start small. I mean, I think when I look back at the beginning of our company, we had a contractor that worked in graphic design and wrote our blogs, and they were the same person that wrote our captions. So we had two people managing multiple streams of marketing it wasn't cheap, but it was certainly more cost effective than hiring in-house.
Yeah. Carol, I know you have a blueprint of how to make social media successful. So walk us through it, please.
Yeah, so this is just a little map of what we see that are like basically the key pillars. So one of them is brand essentials, and brand essentials speaks to your branding, your colors, your logo, your fonts, your style, your overall presence. Then we have tools and systems, and that is, we're gonna go into a little bit more, but it goes into it's about your team, it's about the platforms that you use, the different programs that you use to create everything. Then we have video content, which we've already mentioned how important it is. So it's definitely one big pillar. And then consistency and connection, because you can do all of these, but if you only do it for a week or two, that won't be enough. It's a long-term play, right? And we've known that in marketing for a long time, but it applies for social media as well.
Yeah. So let's look at it one by one so we can focus on what you mean exactly by brand essentials. Something that you've mentioned to me before is that whether attorneys want to or not, they are a brand. And I know we all like to think that you're just an attorney, but you are a brand and you have to build it as such. So can you tell us a little bit about the essentials?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can see here a few examples of what we use internally to guide all of our team members as far as creating the content. Also, like our web design team, our team that creates the posts for social, the videos for social. And it's basically, we have a set of colors that we use. They're very specific colors. We have the codes that we know that we have to use. Then we have the fonts. And then there's generally a style. So if it's like straight lines, a diagonal lines, a lot of squares, rounded edges, if it's circles, wavy lines, anything like that, it'll give us a direction.
Perfect. 1 second. Okay.
So yeah, here it's basically an example of when you apply all of this. And this is an Instagram feed because Instagram is a very visual platform. You can see how the branding carries through the entire, grid, as we would say. So there's like the highlight stories, and then you can see a lot of the posts and reels that all carry that same style. It's going to be memorable. When somebody sees one of these posts, they're generally going to recognize it's yours without even looking into it or reading it, because they recognize the style.
1 sec. Okay. I personally, every time that I'm trying to check a new business on social media, I do go to the highlights. So I like that you have it set up at the top, like settlements, reviews, testimonials, because people will want to find that easily accessible in a profile without having to scroll forever.
Yeah, so there's the highlights, and then there's also now in Instagram, you can pin. So, if you produce a piece of content that really engages the audience, that really resonates with everybody, make sure you pin it. It has to be up there at the top, and you also have it in your stories often, and it's also in your highlights. Showcase it. So there's multiple ways to do that, and those are just some examples.
So besides, being personable, besides showcasing your best testimonial reviews, you also talk about showcasing your collaborations. Why? Why should I do this?
Yeah, so collaboration posts are huge. Instagram released this last year, but basically you can tag somebody just as a general tag, or if it's a business, you can tag as a collaborator, which means that the other person will have to accept your request, and then it will show up on both of your feeds, and it will reach both of your audiences. So you will share likes, interactions, comments, shares. Every type of engagement will count towards both of you, which will also promote it more, because the algorithm likes that. The more it gets interacted with, the more it shows it to more people.
And I know you mentioned that Instagram is aesthetically pleasing, but I know we all have questions about other social media platforms, like how about Facebook, how about YouTube? Should I be in there, or is Instagram enough?
Instagram is definitely one of the most popular ones and bigger ones, but the truth is, if you create this brand and you generate all this content, why not use it in every platform possible, right? And the important thing is that when you do, you carry your brand on everything. That gives you a cohesive visual identity, and it makes you more memorable in the eyes of your audience. So yeah, here you can see an example of how it's used everywhere, even on a live event, which is the last example there.
Yeah, you want to be everywhere, and you want to be early as well, right? I think that's a big one. We had a conversation with one of our members, an attorney that sees a lot of his competition doing well on social media, and he's asking, why aren't we on X, Y, or Z platform? And for some reason that related to his goals, we couldn't put him on certain social media platforms. However, if you really want to make the most maximized effort to be on social media, it's like register on every platform you can. Like Be Real, for instance, isn't talked all that much about as a social media platform, but it's a flip of a coin. Would you rather be on it now and hope that it does well, or make a minimal investment of your time and efforts into an emerging social media platform? And if it goes by the wayside, cool, at least you gave it a shot. So be everywhere, but also be early. Try platforms out, even if they're not at mass saturation. Be early. I can't speak to. I can't describe how many case studies there are of attorneys that were early on Instagram, especially TikTok. That they're sort of like the leading Instagram influencers in legal, just as a result of being the first ones there. So be early.
Yeah, and on that note, keep in mind that you should have a Threads account. I know some people might be wondering, how about Twitter, how about Threads? We're still on all of them, and we do recommend that you keep accounts. Threads is one that might jump, might not, but you'll be there already if it does.
We do have a question here from Alicia Altamirano. She says, can you give an example of a collaboration, please? Yeah, so we could send you a live example, but an example of one is, let's say you're on a podcast and the podcast social media account has a link. There's a feature on Instagram where you can share a post. So when it's published, it'll show as published by you and the podcast host. Or if you want to make it more deliberate in injury law, for instance, let's say you have a chiropractor that you refer business to quite often to. You can have a post that is shared between the chiropractor, who is essentially cross-promoting your business. At the same time, you're going to be cross-promoting a chiropractor in your social media feed. There are many ways to collaborate. The idea is to borrow someone's audience through that feature of collaboration.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I know that Carol wanted to give us more concrete tips on how to do this, how to be relatable, how to be personable. So I'm going to bring this for you, Carol, so you can talk to us about these examples.
Yeah, so since we don't have the audio on, I'm just going to give you a little background on this, but this is for tenant law again in California, and this is their spokesperson, and just a short, quick video reminding them that they have rights as immigrants. This is Spanish content in California, so a lot of people are either immigrants themselves or their family members are immigrants, and many have that fear. If I'm not a citizen, if I'm not a resident, do I have the same rights? And yes, you do. So something as simple as that will connect with that audience.
Perfect. How about this one? Why should I show them my location? Why do they care?
I don't know about you, but I personally like to see pictures, videos, and everything I can before I go to a doctor's office. If it's an attorney also, everything, anything. I always Google the places to see the street. And if I can get a glimpse into the inside, even better for me. And I know a lot of people are visual like that and will feel a lot more comfortable getting to see that there is an actual office, a physical office, an actual team with friendly faces. So it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah, I mean, the rules of what consumers want is not exempt from legal. Like restaurants, dental offices, venues, anything that has to do with you entering a place and investing your time or your dollars. You want to see that this isn't some fly-by-night office, right? And I think this is especially true within the Hispanic community. Like there's a lot of skepticism if a professional isn't referred from within the community. So if someone is finding out resources on their own, they have to trust what they see online. So it's sort of like you're being proactive to prevent any doubt that your business isn't viable.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think this brings us back to the Hispanic market. You can say we speak Spanish, but if you don't show people actually speaking Spanish, how do they know?
Yeah, if you have Spanish-speaking staff, show it. This is just a couple of team members interacting about a case, and they're speaking in Spanish, and it's just as simple as that to show that your team does actually speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm. And this goes back to what we were talking about before, about Leo, just to make sure that people have clear personalities if the attorney wants to participate. And let me see.
Yeah, okay. So this one also, This one really, I really like it because sometimes, if you're dealing with a legal case, you have no idea what goes behind the scenes, how much work actually goes into each case. And I think it's really valuable to share a little bit about that. Like, what do legal files look like? What does evidence look like? Reviewing evidence, the day-to-day that goes into every case, I guess. So here we just show a little behind the scenes. People really like that.
Nice. And then this goes back to building trust, showing people the offices. I'll show you why. I think from my experience, the most successful things we ever do are showing people testimonials, results, actual clients getting what you're telling them they will get. So why are these posts so popular, Carol? And do you have any recommendations on how to do them properly?
Yeah, so this is a client, also an immigration law firm in California. And every time there's a court win or every time the client wants a picture, is open to having their picture shared on social media, we get the picture and we post about it because we're celebrating often a court victory on a very complicated immigration case. And that's worth celebrating. So
yeah, and it goes to say immigration attorneys have the best position to do this, by the way. So if you're an immigration attorney, you have all the leverage to promote happy stories because generally speaking, the success of a work comp story, an injury case, family law case, when we're talking about divorce rather, even labor law, employment, generally speaking, those cases are sourced from some degree of adversity, some tragedy. Whereas, in immigration, generally speaking, more often than not, you're having a happy outcome. If you solve their matter, it's a happy outcome. You got them adjustment of status, family visas, preventing deportation and court proceedings. And there's so many happy stories in immigration that virtually every client is an opportunity to promote your office. So uniquely, immigration attorneys, we believe should be tripling down on this sort of strategy because generally speaking, these are happy outcomes. I wish more attorneys would make an event out of delivering residency green card news because that is such a life-altering moment. I would say bigger than becoming a citizen, getting your green card residency. I lived through that. I went through that myself. So I know what it feels like, how much it can change your life and how different your life can be just with this one document. And it's something that I think specifically immigration attorneys should triple down on. Now, if you're not an immigration attorney, you should always be capturing these stories, regardless if they're comfortable with it.
Yes, and while photos are great to bring it all back, video, guys, if you can get your clients to do video, just 30 seconds on the chair talking about their experience, that's so valuable. Like Carol has 2 examples here.
Yeah, these are a couple clients from a PI law firm in California, and they had accidents, apparently not catastrophic, but with injuries, and they had a positive outcome. I think one of them was actually with a semi trailer. So, we see that the person has recovered and they're doing great, but they also got a great result from their case. So they're happy to be on screen, and often they don't really want anything or will ask for anything in return. But, you can always give like a gift card or anything like that, or just a show of appreciation. But the video itself will just provide so much value to anybody looking to work with your firm. That's where the value really is.
I think these were a lot of tips that will be very useful for you, but we want to give you a little bit more of a practical thing to wrap this up. And this is tools and platforms that you can use to get things done. So, Carol, here you go.
And there's a lot of platforms that you can use. We use Monday.com just because it allows us to include everything. It allows us to plan by month. It allows us to assign tasks, languages, type of posts, mark them once they've been published, to include all of our captions, graphics, so on and so forth. If you're a smaller firm, you can use a Google Sheet. You can use an Excel spreadsheet. It's not that complicated. Just build it out or look up a template and it'll work. And these are some visual impact tools. So editing platforms, whether you hire from Upwork or if you find somebody, local that can do some of the editing for you or the content creation for you, they just make sure that they're skilled in the right platforms to provide professional content.
Yes, so if you're freaking out like me when you're seeing Photoshop's icon right there, you don't have to use Photoshop. There is Canva, it's a lot easier, I promise.
There is that too, yes.
And your last tip of the day, Carl?
Yeah, so we know that, like we mentioned before, you can do all of these great things with your branding, with your videos, but ideally you want to be consistent to be able to build this connection with your audience. And that means generally posting every day, or as close as you can get to that.
Yeah, that's huge. Like consistency wins. If you're just hopping in and out, you're probably not going to get any success there. We're talking every day, or at almost every business day, if not every business day. So yeah, actionable takeaways: use your phone, get a ring light. You don't even need a microphone. Hire contractors that you can pay on deliverables, and take these tips. If you're doing content in Spanish, talk about the immigrant story, the immigration story, or rather how you respond to immigration, and show your staff, show your bilingual staff, like show the challenges. Don't tell people the challenges. These are actionable takeaways that we'll summarize in a follow-up email for all of our attendees. Aside from those that want the replay on special requests, we'll be putting these talking points together on a summary email this week. So, Carol, thank you so much for putting this together. And Andre, thanks for presenting this